welcome to the Birds Nest Podcast. I'm Joe Donahue. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope you're having a great Labor Day weekend. Happy Labor Day to everybody out there. Can you feel it? The Philadelphia Eagles 2025 season is right around the corner. The banner is set to be unveiled, and the Philadelphia Eagles open the 2025 NFL season on Thursday evening at home against the Dallas Cowboys. Joining us to preview the game as well as the whole of the 2025 season is friend of the show and Hall of Fame sports writer Ray Didinger. Ray, thank you so much as always for taking the time.
Good to be with you, Joe.
Absolutely. So, Ray, I want to start off with this. We're sitting on the precipice of a new season, and it's reasonable for people to take a look at this team and have varying degrees of confidence. Some people are on one side of the spectrum, other people are very much on the other side. Obviously, there's a lot that goes into where you fall in that. How confident are you at the outset of this season when you look at this team?
The Eagles are in a unique position relative to their history in that here you are about to start the season, and they are generally regarded around the league as the best team. And I don't know that you could have ever said that. I mean, if to talk about a time when on the eve of the opener that people around professional football point to the Eagles as they're the best, you would probably have to go back to 1948-49. The Bednarik, Van Buren, Wojciechowicz teams that won back-to-back and clearly were the best team. And that's a long time ago. in what we call the Super Bowl era, it's never happened. I mean, even when the Eagles won the Super Bowl 52, when they came back the next year, they weren't the favorite. I mean, nobody was saying they're the best team. When the Andy Reid team went to Jacksonville and paid the Patriots stuff but lost, when they started the next year, nobody thought of them as the best team. And so right now, if you did like a power rankings of the 32 teams, not just in Philadelphia, but around the country, pretty much everybody would start with the Eagles. And so they've never been quite in this position before, where going into the season, they are generally regarded as the best team. Now, it doesn't guarantee you anything. They still have to go out and play to that. But, if you're an Eagles fan, you have to feel pretty good about it. I mean, they've got some issues. I mean, you saw the preseason. I think there are still some areas that they have to address. And if you're one of those fans that wants to be a worrywart and look for things to worry about, there are a few things you can point out. But if you talk to any fan in almost any NFL outpost in this country and asked them going into the season, who do you think's the best team? They would probably pretty much all say the Eagles. So that's where we're sitting, and it's really not a bad place to be.
Yeah, for sure. And you mentioned the fact that this is a unique spot in history, and I remember just after the Eagles won the Super Bowl, you pulled out this stat where for the first time in franchise history, the Eagles are a plus 500 team with 667 wins to 665 losses with 27 ties. They have not their career franchise win-loss record. You pointed out has never been above 500 up until Super Bowl 59, which I found really, really crazy.
And it is crazy when you think about it, that they lost their very first game, the Giants, by some ridiculous score, like 50-0. Then I think they won the next game, but then they lost like the next three. And they have been sub 500 as a franchise ever since. And by the 70s, when you got through those mid 70s, I mean, they were so far below 500, you wondered if they would ever get above water. But they have been on a really good run now for the bulk of the Jeffrey Lurie era. And now they are finally truly a winning team. And now the question is, how long can they stay there? And we'll see. We will see. I mean, the league hasn't done them any favors with the schedule. It's a really tough schedule. And there's a certain amount of skepticism. People out there saying, "Oh, it's very hard to win back to back," which it is. But they're good. I mean, they're really good. They got some really good players. Now, anything could happen in terms of injury. I mean, you could lose 4 or 5 players early, and then that changes everything. When the Eagles came off, when the Andy Reid team came off their Super Bowl, they were a good team too. But Donovan McNabb got hurt. The Terrell Owens situation turned into a sit-ups in his driveway. I mean, all kinds of crazy things happened, and that year just completely fell apart. And a good team wound up not even making the playoffs. So that stuff happens. But we will see. I think that the approach that Nick Sirianni and the leaders on this team have taken is a good one in the sense that, we're not defending anything. The championship that we won, we won. But right now, we're trying to win this team. We're trying to win this year. Our goal is to go out and win this year. We're not worried about trying to defend what we've already won. That's one. Now it's just a matter of going out and winning the games that we need to get back to the postseason and go and do it again. I think that's the right attitude, and that seems to be the attitude they have.
Yeah, and I was just about to bring that up, was the fact that the Eagles seem to be really laser focused and have really seemed to be locked in over the course of the offseason. Landon Dickerson just said this the other day.
Yeah, so it's very simple, right? Every team has a 1-year expiration. 2024 Philadelphia Eagles were a great team. That team no longer exists, right? It's in the history books. There's guys still here, but that team is no longer together. It's 2025 Philadelphia Eagles. Right now, we have accomplished nothing. We are 0-0, and we're here to work.
Because I don't remember any time in history, and maybe this is something that you can speak to a little bit, where because you've seen a lot more of it than I have, where this team has had this kind of laser focus. And seems like, I mean, last season was last season and it was great and it happened. But this season is completely new. Have you seen that before in Eagles history?
No, sure. I mean, I would certainly, say the Vermeil team
Mm-hmm.
when they 1980 into 81 when they went to their first Super Bowl. They came back the next year and they had exactly the same kind of feeling that they had accomplished a lot. I mean, they had come a long way in a short time. And in 1980, won the NFC, beat a very good Cowboy team, went to the Super Bowl and lost to the Raiders, but came back the next year with the feeling that, okay, we got there last year, but we didn't finish the job. This year we will. That was a totally laser focused team. They went through Vermeil, typical of him, put them through a really tough training camp just to make sure there was no complacency and to say that we have a lot of work to do. Yes, last year was great. We won our division. That was a tremendous Sunday against the Cowboys. We all celebrated, but we didn't finish the job. We didn't win the Super Bowl. This year we will. And that was the attitude they had going into it. And they started that year gangbusters. I mean, they started that year, I think they were 6-0 and looked really good. And then the second half of the year, everything just kind of went bad. They got some guys were hurt. Montgomery was injured, and then they lost some fluky, crazy games. That they had a game where they're ready to win on a last-second field goal down in RFK Stadium in Washington, and the holder fumbled the snap, and they missed the field goal and wound up losing a game they should have won. They had a few of those games in the second half of that year that they lost. You couldn't quite figure out how they lost it. And, they made it to the playoffs, but they went in they sort of limped into the playoffs and got bounced in the first game by the upstart Giants with a rookie Lawrence Taylor. And that was it. Within 2 years, Dick Vermeil had stepped away and the Eagles were on their way down the other side of the mountain. But in terms of just the focus of the team, that 81 Eagles team coming off the Super Bowl had it, but things just happened in the course of that year that it prevented them from getting back to that game. And it's not easy to do. It's not easy to get there, and it's even harder to get there back-to-back years. And now we'll see if the Eagles can actually do that this year. And it starts Thursday night.
Yeah, that it does. Yeah, and it definitely feels a lot like the Eagles have learned a lot of lessons from the last time that they went to and won the Super Bowl. Howie's alluded to that a number of times where um, like there were lessons that they learned from then that they've done some things differently in this offseason than after they won Super Bowl 52. Um, yeah, so definitely feels a little bit different this time than going into the season than last time. Um, let's talk also about a little bit of the impact that this kind of an off season has on QB1, right? Because he's been setting the example, and it's really hard to believe that Jalen Hurts is now in his fifth year in the NFL, right? He drafted in 2020, and this is his or coming in, stepping into the QB1 role with Nick Sirianni. Um, what does winning a Super Bowl do to a guy like Jalen Hurts?
Well, I think it's if you're a quarterback and that's the ultimate is to take your team to a Super Bowl, win it, and you're the MVP. That's the top of the mountain, and um, and we still have people asking the question: Is Jalen Hurts elite? Does he? Is this his prove it year? I mean, I heard that on the radio one day, and I almost drove off the road. I said, "Wait a minute, did I like imagine what happened in February? Did I like dream that? I mean, didn't he win the Super Bowl? And wasn't that him holding the MVP? You know, I, he has to prove it. What was that? Uh, I, I, Joe, I don't get it. I honestly don't get it. This whole debate about elite, the ranking system that has, Jaden Daniels and Joe Burrow and all these guys ahead of them. I mean, they're really good players. They really are. But you know, can you show me your Super Bowl rings? No, gee, but you're ahead of them. Really? I mean, I don't know what people are looking at. I just think that I guess they look at the fact that he didn't throw a ton of touchdown passes last year. But I think in this offense, that's not how you should measure this guy. I mean, I think with this guy, you have to think in terms of aggregate touchdowns. It's not just touchdown passes, but let's put together how many did he run for? What are his total touchdowns? Let's talk about that. And to me, if you want to cut through all of this, it just comes down to me, quarterback play in the NFL comes down to two things. How many points do you score and how many games do you win? That's quarterback's job. Score points, win games. And this guy does that plenty. And do I think he's ever going to lead the league in passing yards? Yeah, probably not. Is he ever going to lead the league in touchdown passes? Doubt it. Quarterback efficiency rate, all that stuff that people get obsessed with, and all the the analytics people do all their that's how they have this whole rating system set up. It's not as important as leading your offense, scoring points, and winning games, and he does that, and that's what he has been as far back as high school. Won in high school, won at Alabama, won at Oklahoma. He's come up here and he's won at the NFL. I think that's what he is. Is he the classic NFL quarterback? Tall, 6'5", stand in the pocket. But no. But when you're an NFL organization, when you're a team, and you draft a quarterback, or you consider drafting a quarterback, or you're evaluating a quarterback, or you're thinking about signing a quarterback, the question that you ask as an organization is, can this guy win us a Super Bowl? Does he have the stuff to win us a Super Bowl? That's the prism through which you evaluate every guy who's going to play that position. He's already done it. So, in terms of what it means to him, I think it means it means as much as it could possibly mean to anybody. I mean, he's now done the thing that every guy that's ever been played quarterback, taking a snap in the NFL, dreams of doing. He's won a Super Bowl and played great in doing it. I think it can only help him. I don't think there's any part of him that's going to get complacent, relax, get caught up in the money, the fame, all that kind of stuff. This is a guy that plays because he loves the game and he plays to win. And I don't think that that's going to change at all. I think he really represents the mindset that we were talking about. Last year was great. We won it. I just walked by the trophy in our lobby. I feel great about that, but that really doesn't have anything to do with the here and now. Now we got to go out and do it again. I think as an organization, I think the Eagles really believe that. And I think the quarterback believes it more strongly than anyone.
For sure, for sure. Yeah, that's definitely definitely a huge thing there. I mean, there's a logical saying where something that has happened could happen, right? And Jalen Hurts has won a Super Bowl. So when you look at that, and you especially look at it through that prism, well, he has won a Super Bowl, so he could win another one. Same kind of principle there. Um, Speaking of things that are logical, it's reasonable to expect Saquon Barkley's probably not going to have another 2,000-yard season. So there's a lot of emphasis that's probably going to be placed on AJ Dillon and Will Shipley. I'm not expecting a true like three-headed monster, right? Like the Deuce Staley, Brian Westbrook, Corral Buckhalter days.
No,
But how do you expect the Eagles to keep the formidable run threat going while continuing to be judicious with Saquon Barkley, or maybe a little bit more judicious this year than in the past?
they probably will. I would expect that they will. I mean, I don't expect him to run for 2,000 yards again. Never been done in the NFL, so I'm not expecting him to see it. But does he have to run for 2,000 yards for them to get back to the Super Bowl? I don't think so. He will still be the guy. He will still be the number one workhorse guy. But I definitely think that they'll probably use his running threat to set up the pass a little bit more. When you have receivers as good as the Eagles, that makes perfect sense to me. Every team that comes in to play the Eagles defensively will spend the whole week preparing. Primary number one goal is we got to stop number 26. We can't let him run wild. That'll be the defensive focus. That'll be the formation. That'll be the way they attack the line of scrimmage. And if you're the Eagles, you make that work to your advantage. And you give Saquon his carries. You have to. He's that good. But you can also use his threat to set up opportunities and get matchups down the field with Smith, Brown, Goddard, and those guys, and do a lot of damage that way. So I think this is a team where I'm not suggesting that you're going to see Jalen Hurts throwing the ball 45 or 50 times. I don't think the offense is going to be that. But I think they're probably going to throw it a little bit more this year. And I think you'll probably see them spell Barkley a little bit more and play Shipley a little bit more because they should. I mean, I think he's a good player. And I think he represents kind of a good changeup kind of back who can do a lot of different things. So, yeah, I'd like to see him on the field because I think he's a good player who can contribute. And also, it isn't the worst thing to give Barkley a couple series off. I think that'll be good. But, anybody who thinks that Barkley's going to do the 2,000-yard thing again, I don't think he will, but I don't think that's going to keep this team from maybe winning another Super Bowl. He's going to be the guy. He's going to get his yards. And in the key situations and in the big games, he's still going to be getting the ball a ton. But will it be what we saw last year? Probably not.
Yeah. Yeah, fully expecting that. Yeah, let's talk defense a little bit here too, because there are definitely key pieces that are stuck on. But the Eagles did get a few new guys. I'm still really surprised the Eagles got Jahad Campbell at 31. I think I saw one analyst predict that. But this defense was the top ranked defense in the regular season last year in total yards per game, as well as the best pass defense by any stretch. Um, how do you see the Eagles defense continuing to build on that success?
Well, they've had significant losses. They lose Brandon Graham, uh, Josh Sweat. Uh, you've got you lose Darius Slay, you lose Gardner Johnson, Milton Williams. I mean, that's you've lost 5, 6 starters off the defense. That's not insignificant.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that there's going to be a change, but I think that there are. I think there were young players on that defense that they are really coming on. And last year, late in the year, when they got more of an opportunity to play, played really well. I mean, Ajomo, I thought, played really good when he got a chance to. I mean, he was early in the year, he was playing very little. Late in the year, and then into the postseason, he played quite a bit and played very well. Jalix Hunt uh, was a guy who didn't play much early in the year, but as the year went on, began to play more and played very well. And those are two young players who I will now, because of the other guys leaving, will be asked to take on a bigger role, and I think they're ready to do that. Jahad Campbell was, you mentioned getting him at 31. I thought that was a coup. I really did. I really didn't think there was any way that I loved him as a player. I really did. When I saw him play at Alabama, I thought he was a big time player and a guy who was going to come to the NFL and do very well. But I never thought that he'd be in the 30s in the first round of the draft. I mean, did I see him as a guy that could fit with the Eagles? Sure. But I thought to get him, the Eagles would have to trade up. But they didn't, because there were some concerns about the shoulder injury. Uh, Teams passed on him, and the Eagles wound up getting themselves a guy who has a chance to be a big time player and got him at 31 without having to trade up. I mean, this is a couple of years in a row where I thought the Eagles got a little lucky. Where, I mean, a year ago, Quinyon Mitchell to me was far and away the best cornerback in the draft. And that was the Eagles' biggest need. And, when I saw him at the Blue Gray games, so the Senior Bowl, I thought, man, this guy's good. And he would be a perfect fit for the Eagles. But the Eagles are drafted 22. There's no way you're going to get this guy at 22. But the way it turned out, with everybody drafting quarterbacks and receivers, all of a sudden, Quinyon Mitchell starts falling, and he falls right in your lap at 22. And now I think he's one of the best corners in the league. I really do. I don't think he's just like a good young player. I think he's just a flat out good player. I mean, to me, I like a Pro Bowl level player. And you got him at 22. I mean, that's a coup. And I think it was kind of the same thing this year with Campbell. I think Campbell is that good a player. And because of the injury concerns, he fell to you at 31. That's really good. I mean, and so you take a player like Campbell that has that kind of ability and also that kind of versatility, that he can be an off-ball player but also an edge pass rusher. He does them both. And you give him to a defensive coordinator like Vic Fangio, who's so good at using players and maximizing their talent. I mean, that's really good. I think that Campbell's he's going to start Thursday, and I think he's going to play a lot in a lot of different roles. I think initially, I think the Eagles are still trying to figure out their pass rush a little bit on the edges. I think they're a little bit, I don't want to say concerned, but they have to figure out where they're going to get their edge pass rush from. I mean, they know they're going to get Carter up the middle, but where are they going to, how consistently are they going to get it from the edge? I think initially that's probably where you're going to see Campbell a lot, will be sit in a situation of being an edge rusher. Over the course of the year, you'll probably see him do a lot of different things. But I think initially they're probably going to use him a lot in the pass rush, and I think he's going to be pretty effective.
For sure. For sure. We do know the team is a work in progress. Howie alluded to that a number of times on roster cutdown day. And that's also evidenced in a number of the recent roster moves. The biggest ones that I point out are the special teams operation. The Eagles didn't have an obvious punt returner before they re-signed Britton Covey to the practice squad. And then to say nothing about Charlie Hewlett, who's also going to probably wind up being elevated a few times before he gets a spot on the 53-man roster. Where do you see the Eagles' biggest needs, biggest areas of concern at this point in the season?
Well, he does mention one of them is punt returner. Uh, I absolutely, under no circumstances, do I want Cooper DeJean returning punts. None. Zero. Off the table. Okay. Off the table. He is too valuable. He is too valuable for your defense to have him back there fielding punts. He's good at it. I mean, you saw him last year. He's good at it, but he's too valuable. I mean, and I think when they have staff meetings down there, I'm sure Vic Fangio, if it ever comes up that anybody suggests, well, Cooper DeJean can return to punts, I think Vic Fangio will tell you what he thinks of that idea. He's
Probably having a
go,
conniption.
go get somebody that can do it. Okay, there are guys who can do that stuff. You don't take a player like DeJean and ask him to do that stuff. I mean, I don't want to relive the Jason Sehorn situation. But we saw what happened to him. There was a guy that was playing a good level of cornerback for the Giants and blew his knee out returning a kickoff and was never the same. This kid can do so many things defensively, and you saw how much this defense got better when he was playing the second half of the year. That, as far as I'm concerned, take the special teams thing off of the plate. Okay, he is a big part of your defense, and let's just keep him on the defense. So that's one thing. The other thing is, I guess if there was a concern that I had in the preseason, it was the cornerback opposite Mitchell. I think they're still trying to figure that one out. I think they wanted Ringo to be the guy. He never really got hold of the job. Jackson is a guy who's been around the league. He's got some experience. I don't know that they're really convinced that he's the long-term answer. If I were to guess, and it's purely a guess, I think it'll probably be Bennett. I think that probably I'd say by week 5, you'll probably see Bennett in there. DeJean could wind up playing out there a little bit too, but he's been so good in the slot. And I think that ultimately he could be a great safety. But I think ideally they would like to have another corner to play opposite Mitchell. And I think it won't be too much longer that's probably going to wind up being Bennett. I think he'll get a shot at it. And then even though none of the really starting offensive linemen, except for Steen, played a little bit, but the other starting offensive linemen, they didn't really play in the preseason. And so you saw all the backups, and didn't look great. So I think that there's a little bit of a concern, at least on my part, that if you get a few injuries on the offensive line, do you have the quality depth that can fill in? And I'm not asking them to step in and be as good as Mailata or Johnson, but how good will they be? I mean, because this team, when they're really good, it starts with the offensive line. And it'd be great if you could get 17 healthy games out of them. That's the ideal, but it's hard to do. And I just right now, based on what I saw this preseason, I'm not sure that the backups on the offensive line are all that. I think if there's a couple injuries and you have to plug a couple guys in, I think you could see a significant drop off, which would have a ripple effect through the whole offense.
Mm-hmm. For sure. And then obviously we've got a game on Thursday. It may have gotten a little bit easier for the Eagles to pull out a win with the Micah Parsons departure up to Green Bay. But what do the Eagles need to do? And I know at this point of the season, there's not a lot that teams like to show. So as much as we tease about the Dallas Cowboys, they're still a division rival. They do try to play us very hard. And at the beginning of the season, there's so many unknowns about what teams actually have in the bank. What do the Eagles need to do in order to pull out a win on Thursday?
Just don't make mistakes. They're a better team, uh, a lot better team. And so if they just go out there and play their game and don't turn the ball over and don't make mistakes, they should win it. How sharp will they be? I don't know. I mean, your first team guys, especially on offense, really haven't played. I mean, AJ Brown hardly even practiced most of the summer. So that are they likely to be super sharp? Probably not. But their talent level is such that they should not have a whole lot of trouble here, unless they just get real careless with the football, which can happen. But if you ask me what's the formula here, I don't think it's anything real profound. I think when you have a significant manpower advantage over a team, which the Eagles do over the Cowboys now, I feel, then the key to winning is just not making mistakes. Just go out there and don't commit dumb penalties. Don't jump off sides and turn 3rd and 2, third and 1 tush push into a 3rd and 6. Just don't do that. Don't turn the ball over. Don't fumble it. Don't throw interceptions. If you come away plus giveaway takeaway, then you should win this one going away. I know that, and the Cowboys seem to me to be. I mean, I don't know this. I'm not down there, but they just seem to be in disarray right now. I mean, the Parsons thing had to just turn that whole organization upside down. And I don't know. Yeah, could they sort of rally around this somehow? And people are talking about that. I don't really see it. I think it's one of those where the players are probably looking at each other saying, "What the heck are we doing here?" I mean, they'll come in fired up, wanting to play. Thursday night, national TV, walk into a stadium where they know the people hate them. I mean, they'll come out ready to play. But I mean, the Eagles right now are the better team, and I think the Cowboys. I think the Cowboys are going to have a really rough year. I do. I mean, Brian Schottenheimer's never been a head coach before. He's got a real tough situation on his hands. The offensive line, which has always been pretty good there over recent years, is not very good right now. They have a lot of issues on defense. They lost their best defensive player. I think it's going to be a real tough year for the Cowboys. I mean, if everybody loves the quote unquote bold prediction, everybody wants to make what's your bold prediction? Here's my bold prediction: the Giants will finish ahead of the Cowboys this year. Because I think the Cowboys are on their way down, and I think the Giants will be much better. I know that's not saying much. We're talking about a 3-14 team, but I think they'll be more than respectable, and maybe maybe a kind of a pain in the neck actually in the NFC East. I think they're going to be better, and right now it would not shock me at all at the end of the season that the Giants finish ahead of the Cowboys.
Well, we'll see what happens there. Ray, you do have a new edition of the Eagles Encyclopedia coming out in October, and you also have a new play coming out later on this month. It premieres September 17th at the Delaware Theater Company in Wilmington. It's called Spinner. It follows the story of hockey player Brian Spinner Spencer, who played for a number of NHL teams from 1969 to 1980. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
First of all, you mentioned Eagles Encyclopedia. This will be the 4th edition of the Eagles Encyclopedia. We didn't really plan on that, but when they won the Super Bowl and had the kind of season they had last year, we sort of felt like we kind of had to do that. We kind of had to update the old encyclopedia to write in last year and Saquon Barkley and all the records that were set. Last year's team kind of did rewrite the record book. So I went back and had to basically rewrite the whole Eagles Encyclopedia, all 520 pages of it. So that kept me busy. That'll be out in the middle of October, and it's called Eagles Encyclopedia Champions 2, Roman numeral 2. And the cover naturally is the Saquon Barkley reverse hurdle. So that'll be in a bookstore near you shortly. And then the play, yes, it's called Spinner, and it is a hockey story, and it is the story of Spinner Spencer, who played through the 70s and that whole rough and tumble era of the slapshot era of the NHL. And it's a story. It's a hockey story, but it's really more of a father-son story about how his father, up in the wilds of British Columbia, just made up his mind that his son was going to play in the NHL. and how that became just the common dream that they shared. And he got there, but the price that both of them paid for him to get there is really kind of the guts of the story. So that play is coming to the Delaware Theater Company in Wilmington, a beautiful theater, just remodeled and really nice, right down in Wilmington, right off I-95. So anybody that's interested in coming out and seeing it, go to the Delaware Theater Company website. You'll find the logo for Spinner, and you go in there and order your tickets. We open September 17th, and we play right through October the 5th. So hopefully folks will come out and see it.
Absolutely. And if it's anything like your last play, Tommy and me, it's going to be a great play. So definitely make sure that you get that checked out.
And I should mention that Tommy and me is coming back.
All right.
Tommy, we closed Spinner on October the 5th, and we opened Tommy and Me on October the 7th. I have 2 plays running back to back. Tommy and Me is coming back to People's Light Theater in Malvern, where we were in January. So anybody that came out in January, we're going to be coming back to People's Light on October the 7th and running there for about 2.5 weeks. So you can, People's Light, go to their website and order your tickets. Joe, this will be the 10th year of Tommy and Me. Can you believe that? We did it the first time in 2015, and here we are still doing it 10 years later. Really amazing.
That's great. Well, I mean, it's a great story, and you certainly have had a really good job in converting that into a play. And well, obviously, hopefully, people receive Spinner as well as they've received Tommy and Me over the last 10 years. And it's always great to hear more about. It's always great to see a new Eagles encyclopedia come out from the chairman, the honorary chairman of the Eagles Historical Society. So.
Yeah, well, okay, I'll take that. I'll take that.
Well, Ray, as always, thank you so much for taking the time. Even in retirement, you remain busy, and it's always great when you clear some time to come and hang out and talk with us. So
always good to be with you, Joe. And looking forward to Thursday night. Looking forward to get this thing underway. I think it's going to be a challenging year for this team, but it's going to be a very exciting year. And we'll see where it goes.
We shall see. We shall see. All will be revealed very soon.
Mm-hmm.
But again, thanks so much, and thank you to everyone for tuning into the Bird's Nest podcast. You can support the Bird's Nest podcast by liking and subscribing to Bird's Nest Media right here on YouTube, as well as by sharing to your social media pages. You can also find us on SoundCloud, iTunes, Amazon Podcasts, Spotify, the Odyssey app, and iHeartRadio. Please visit birdsnestmedia.com for additional Eagles and NFL coverage. And if you feel so inclined to support us in a different way, you can find the link to our Patreon in the description below or at birdsnestmedia.com. Thank you so much for tuning in. And let's go, Eagles!